I'm going to ask you another tough question, which is, I mean, it's such a difficult subject, and you've mentioned a few places that people might go to get more information. But
Right.
how can outsiders help during this time, or even outside of this time? What can we do to help? And where could women go for this support?
Well, again, country by country, it differs. In most countries, there are women's shelters, women's refuge, it's called in the UK and New Zealand. Women's these entities used to be called battered women's centers. We don't say that anymore. Women's centers that would attempt to help women leave a violent situation and try to find another place to live with friends, with family, with whatever. What can we do? We can support those. We can take out a checkbook and write a check to support these women's centers. That's immensely important. They need to be supported and they need to be there. What can women do? They'll call the police. That in some countries is a fine thing to do. The police will connect them with women's centers. They'll be helped and their house will become safer. The police will turn up. A couple of countries have passed laws requiring that the men, and men are usually the perpetrators of violence, not always, but almost always, 90% and above. In a couple of countries, instead of requiring or supporting the woman to leave the house, they've required the man to leave. Laws have been changed. So, women can, you asked where can women get support? Well, from the police, from the healthcare system, and so on and so forth. Sadly, the healthcare system is the system that knows most, because women are injured and they go to get help, or else they're taken to get help by their friend, which is another thing that we can do. And that is to be a friend, to be there for someone if you know that your neighbor is suffering. It's such a complicated issue. I have certainly known people who've been suffering violence against women, and my reaction with them was, well, how can I help you get out of here? And, these people love their husbands. They love these people. They were married to them, are married to them. It's a very, very difficult transition for women to leave. And as I said, we can't generalize, because in some countries, really in many countries, there's tremendous shame that goes with having been a victim or a survivor of violence against women. People don't want to admit it. They don't want to talk about it. So it's very difficult to know how to help people. So I want to come back to this friend business. I think being there for someone is vitally important, because that woman is more and more alone, and especially with COVID. So we've got people being alone in a dangerous situation. They need a friend. So that's one thing I think that we can do without trying to interfere, without trying to alienate the perpetrator, but to just be there so that someone can call and know that someone at the end of the line is their friend. I think that's vitally important. Another thing that we can do, if that's the question, I think it was the basic question,
Yes.
is to raise children to not think that violence is the way we deal with a problem. So almost everyone in my generation grew up, if you were a bad little girl or a bad little boy, you got smacked on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And over time, that is changing. I mean, people are thinking, this isn't really a good lesson for kids. They're doing something bad, and then they get something bad happens to them. Well, that was the concept, but it's not a very good one, because, as I think I mentioned at the very beginning of our conversation, the main symptom, you might say, or not symptom, but cause of people inflicting violence on women in their homes is having grown up with violence in their homes.
Mhm.
So we want to eliminate violence in our homes if we possibly can, so we can have a next generation of children who don't see violence as the way to solve problems, but rather conversation, kindness, love, some other way to intervene and to help people work out their problems. Sorry, I might have strayed a bit from your
No,
question.
it's great. I really appreciate the compassion through which you're speaking. And I think at the end of the day, that's what matters most, you know, being a friend, like you said, and not judging others and making sure that we're as compassionate as we can be, especially during this trying time.